Hey, board gamers, BJ from Game Gumbo here, back in the Gumbo pot, this time with another unboxing. We're taking a look at Rock Hard 1977, a game designed by Jackie Fox, a Euro game, but it's surprisingly thematic. It's published by DEVIR Games, and they're doing splashes all over the country at your friendly local game stores. So I've played this game a bunch. I thought I would open up and unbox my copy, give you kind of an overview, and let you see the components before you go out to the friendly local game store. Let's get right to the table and see what's inside this box. All right, there's that gorgeous cover of Rock Hard 1977. It's designed by Jackie Fox from the Runaways, also like billion-time champion at Jeopardy. Prolific board game person, loves to talk about board games. Oh, I didn't realize it. You can't see this with the light, but oh, I never noticed that the box has this embossing that you don't notice up front. Oh, that's really cool. Sort of like the album work that you see. And like I said, this is a very thematic Euro. I mean, one of the most thematic Euros I've played. And this before I got my, this is a review copy from DEVIR and from ENVOY. Before I got that, before I even knew I was getting it, it was already going to be in one of my top 6 games of the year. So where it finishes at the end, we'll see. And I think it can hold on to the 2024. It won't. I don't think it's going to be the Fleur de Ludo, but it will be in that category. So let's take a look. I just love this game. Played it again this week. So all right. So there's that gorgeous cover. You're an aspiring rock musician starting up a band, trying to get a crew, trying to get a record deal. At the same time, you're also working. You're a bartender or a legal clerk or something else. And so you got to juggle the work that you have, the job that you have that pays the bills, versus trying to become this up-and-coming rock musician, writing songs, becoming better, working on your chops. What are you going to do? You're going to try to split your time between all the things you need to do in the daytime and at nighttime and overnight. Sometimes you might be tempted to eat some candy, right? We know what that means in the game, but for family purposes, it's candy to help you get a little speed, a little energy. Up-and-coming musician, dreaming of making it big with a band. There's information on how to play video. This is a worker placement game, though. At its heart, it's a relatively simple game, and it's super breezy. It plays very, very quickly. It's based in the 1970s. Why is this rulebook so long? I'm reading out of this thing. It's long because nothing, with the possible exception of an extended boss solo, is more annoying than having to stop and Google the answer to a question about gameplay. We've found that there's been, in all the times we played, and I've probably got a half dozen now or close to it, there's only been 1 or 2 tiny little issues that we've had to look up. And most of those were timing. So nice visual representation of all the components. I love when they do that. This is going to be the standard edition. There may be some upgraded components that I do not have as part of like some fancy edition, but you're gonna love seeing the money. They still get their good details about all the components that are going to come. Then a setup with numbers tracing back to a visual diagram. This is the way to do a rulebook here. I'm not a fan of using this coloring on the back, though. It's kind of hard for my tired eyes to read. Elements of the game. Basically, on your turn, you're going to take that one solitary worker you have, and over the course of 3 sections of the day, you're going to take an action in turn order. There are ways to manipulate that, and I'll go through that when we go over the board. We've got some what candy means. We know what that's referencing. And candy is the one rule that we've had a couple of issues with. So, but we figured it out and we found it. Day actions versus night actions versus your after hours. What you're doing? You're hanging out, meeting people, upgrading your board. Anytime actions that you have, and then the cleanup phase. We just followed the cleanup phase step by step. There's a little player guide we're going to show in there, and that's pretty easy. And then I hadn't played it before. We played the 3-person game with this rising star, where it kind of blocks off some of the parts of it. I enjoyed that, so it wasn't bad. And then a nice little write-up about Jackie Fox. All right, so let's keep going. One of the cool things is money. We hate paper money in board gaming, right? But not this one. This does not feel like your typical Monopoly paper money. It actually feels like real money. I mean, the texture that they did, and the bills are so close. And not only that, but there's like 4 or 5 different versions of each of the denominations of the ones, fives, and tens. And they got all these handwritten things on them, like, some smudges or kiss lipstick or, rock on or things like that. So great touch that really, I've never had enough money to get 10, but I've seen people do it. Great. Look, it's each money is actually a little bit different. Not every single one of them, I think it is. There's like three or four, but little stencils, little doodles. We used to do that all the time back in the 70s and 80s. So mark up the money, write like a message, and then in your little small town, and see if that message came back. So, all right, we got some player pieces. So these are the score markers here. What's cool about doing an unboxing for a game I've played a half dozen times, That's the round tracker. It looks like a little speaker, or maybe a calendar. I guess it's like a calendar. And it's going to go over the days of the week. And then you can play up to 5 players, and it's got this is the point scoring for each of the players. So super simple there. You're going to play as different player characters. You'll actually play as a band person with a name and with a special power. At least in all the times that we played. I don't know of a lesser version of that. And some of those will have some special powers. And maybe this applies to some of the jobs too. So they give you the player colors here and a way to mark those out. So, like I had one the other night where one time during the game, I could use candy to automatically take 2 actions without having to worry about randomness or chance. But I had that little marker on my player board to signify that I'd done that. I mentioned to you that there's a really good player reference guide. There are some online, also on BGG and other places, but to make them bigger and more colorful. But this one was surprisingly pretty good. So once you play the game in a couple of rounds, this is all. It's tiny print. I get it. You can barely see it on the camera, but I promise you, it's very easy to just follow the steps at the end of each round. It also has an explanation of what the different symbols are. So these are good player reference guides. This is that rising star that I told you about. When you're playing with 2 or 3, it's going to feel pretty wide open. You're going to do pretty much what you want to do. So this has a nice way of blocking things out. You'll put cubes on the different worker placement spots based on the month that you're in. So I guess I said a week. It's a year. And then you'll block those spots out in the daytime, nighttime, or after hours. So I don't like fiddly type of automas. This is not, or automas. This is not one at all. This is super easy to do. So I was impressed with that. I told you that you're going to have a worker do the worker placement, and it is this little standees that we're going to use for the different workers. And there's a bunch. There's actually one of these little acrylic ones for all the different characters. Now we're going to have some work to do on these because on each one of them, if I remember right, I'll have to double check because it was already done when I played. Each one of these, the keyboardist, the bassist, the guitar, or the drummer are all made out of acrylics. And you'll just match them up to your little standee. Very nice. This is super easy. All right, moving right along. Oh, these are the knobs. Okay, so I'm gonna pull these out in just a second. Let's get to these. Just want to clean up all the little stuff here. Dice. Yes, there is a dice in the game, and it's used for a couple things. Maybe your character has a power that happens at a random time, or maybe your job is a random amount of money you're going to get each round. So you got to roll it and see what kind of money you're going to get from working that job. Like a bartender, you don't know how many tips you're going to get. So at the start of each day, or when you go to work, you roll it, and that tells you how many tips you're going to get. Because frankly, you don't know what the night's going to be like. It's kind of a thematic touch, but also it's used for candy. And when I say that, when you decide to use candy, the more you use candy, the more likely, something's going to happen to you, and you're going to have to go to recovery. And so that's what the dice is used. It's what at the start of the game it's going to be easy, but as you use it more and more, and you're going to want to use candy because when you spend candy, it gives you the ability in certain locations to take multiple actions instead of just one. You don't want to just take 3 actions each month. You want to try to sneak in that extra action or 2 if you can. But there's a price, and it's called rolling that dice to see if you're going to have to go to recovery. All right, there are some cubes in the game. It's a Euro, right? But the cubes are mainly for tracking things. Like, for instance, I had a private goal where I wanted to go practice at Studio B at least 2 or 3 times. So the way to track that goal is using these pieces. They're just standard little wooden cubes, so nice and easy. But it makes tracking your tracking your personal goals a breeze. So, all right, we got lots of cards. Oh, I like the fact that they're using kind of recycled paper here. Very thin and easy to pop out. Kudos, and I like it. Lots and lots of cards. If there's any complaint I have about Rock Art 1977, the reason it doesn't make a 10 in my book, but it comes close. I'll save it for the review, but it's probably an 8 or 9. The reason is it's kind of fiddly. There's a lot of cards. The setup is a lot to start out with, and that's because there's so many different types of cards. You got Sugar Rush cards. That's the ones for candy. There's, I think, 8 of them or 8 or 10 of them. You'll shuffle these up every round, and then when it's time to use the candy, you got to flip over the next one, and it'll either let you take an action, 2 actions, extra, or a sugar-free candy that doesn't do anything. Wah, wah, no extra action. But you spent the candy. Next up, you got your personal goals. Since I've only played the game 5 or 6 times, whatever it is, I haven't seen all the goals, but most of them are fairly achievable and give you some direction in the game, which is kind of cool. So I like the personal goals. Let's just look at one real quick. Go to bed early at least twice. Okay. That means you're trying to jump the line and go first in the turn order for the next month. Play 3 or more random gigs. Oh, I had that one. That's the one I had. You do it instantly. You get all 3 of them, put cubes on them, and when you're done that, flip the card over and give yourself 6 points. So some of them are in-game scoring, and some of them are end of the game scoring. So, what else? Jobs. No, managers. You not only have a job to do until you become a big enough rock star where you don't have to worry about being a bartender anymore, but you have managers that can help you. I had Schuler Jansen the other night. When I played Panda Palace, I got more money. You might have Lisa Boyd. Once per round, you can add or subtract 2 dice rolls. Ooh, that can be dangerous if you're doing some candy. So it can really help. The managers come in handy. And you'll want, I think one of the cool puzzles of the game, some people may say, oh, this is kind of on rails. But one of the cool puzzles on the game is that you'll have a manager and a job and a special power with your band member, and making those, and plus your personal goals, and making those all synergize together, I think is a big key to winning the game. We talked about jobs, and these are the jobs that we're looking at. Maybe you're an executive assistant, or a proofreader, or car sales. I never saw that one. So during the daytime hours, you got to work. Yeah, it looks like you have to work during the daytime hours, of course. And then you'll get either 1, 2, or 3, depending on the dice roll, because you don't know what your commission is. It just depends on how big it's sell. Massage therapist. There's lots and lots of cool. Veterinary assistant. Lots of cool jobs. Then we got the random gigs. I think this might be the most thing I most enjoy about the game is seeing what the events and the random gigs are going to be each round. And they're seated. The ones that come in the game are 3 different levels, A, B's, and C's. And you start getting into that C level, and some of these are just really good. So you'll have a game where all the gigs are like, we got to go to this gig. That's our game the other night. We just kept hitting the random gigs because they were so good. Instead of trying to work toward the bigger gigs. Eventually, you do need to get one of the big gigs. Show off your band. Show off your songs. Like I told you, we'll have a deck of event cards at the start of the game. So I still have yet to see all the events. At least I think. Probably haven't seen every single one of them. It might be things like you'll flip it over at the start of the round. It's inspiration is in the air. You feel like Mozart with all this music coming out of you. You sweat like him. You swear like him too. There's a lot of flavor text in this game, but I think it's fun. We take the time to read it out. They spend a lot of time on this flavor text. You'll get a +1 the first time you gain a song this round. Oh, way to become a better songwriter. Lots of interesting events. Some of them not so interesting. Some of them kind of tick this off, but hey, set it up, rack it, play it again. All right, what else we got? Yep, random gigs. Oh, I missed a couple of these cards here. Stars are, oh yeah, this is your player characters. We got everything from Doc Sapphire, lead guitarist. Cher Darling. Yeah, Darling. That's what they're trying to go for. The drummer, Rafael Santiago. Good looking little keyboardist there. Yolanda Delacroix. So interesting names. The names and the pictures are all flavor text, of course, but they do have specific roles, special powers. So I'll show those to you in just a second. Then we've got publicity bonuses, performance bonuses. So basically, we're looking at during the game or in-game scoring, maybe the person with the highest reputation in the game is going to get some bonus points. Or maybe the first person to visit certain locations or to do things, do some certain types of gigs. So some of them are race and some of them are in-game. That definitely gives some replayability every game because we haven't seen nearly all the goals. All right, I'm going to show this to you in just a second. We're going to hit the board. And when we look at the board, we're going to see that down there in the corner, there's a place called the Hangout. After the job is done, after the gigs, and after the practicing, and after the meeting with your agents, all that stuff, that's the time for the after hour. So we're talking after hours partying or meeting up with people. It feels very thematic. And you're going to go to these different sections. You might go to Hoover's Bar, hang out, right? You know, gig lasts till 2 o'clock. Crew's got the equipment. You're going to hang out at the bar and close it down. Maybe you go backstage at one of the concerts of a friend of yours. Try to meet up with an agent or a mixing guy. Maybe you go to your agent area, or you'll go to a publicity place. All these different places can help you score points because if you collect for the same type of cards or for different ones, you can flip them over. You lose the powers at that point, but you'll get 5 points. And there are other things that these still do. Some of these are just wild. In other words, they're helping you to set collect. But some of them actually will give you ongoing bonuses, or like powers. Or someone will give you one-time only bumps on your soundboard. So lots of things to look at there. All right, let's get to that juicy board though. I didn't know they did this. They saved some space. Let me show you this ingenious thing here that I did not realize because I did not set up this game. It was already set up the first time I played it. It is a double thick amplifier. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like that? We're going to have some work to do because we're going to have to make this in an effort not to be, bendy, which I hate when you get these double layered boards from the factory. DEVIR does it like some of the other ones like CGE where we're going to put this together ourselves, if I remember right. They should have some little stickers in there somewhere. At least that's what I remember. But we're going to take these knobs and we're going to punch this part out. And when it is finished, it's going to look like an actual boat anchor PV amp. I mean, that's a Marshall amp that we're playing, just like we did back in the band. Look at that thing. I mean, come on. It's going to be, we got to put the back side of it, but it's going to look like an actual amp. And of course, it's going to go to 11. Because, that's just so thematic, Got to turn this sound up to 11. And it tracks the 3 most important ingredients in the game. Your ability to write songs, your reputation in the music community and with the, with the public, and your chops. How good are you at your instrument? You're tracking your royalties too. The more things you do, like record deals or demo tapes, the higher you can get your royalty. And that means at the end of each month, you're going to be getting money and getting points. And let me tell you, you got to pay your manager 3 times during the game, and the cost just keeps getting up. And if you don't pay your manager, there's a penalty. Getting that royalty up takes that pressure off. Hey, I don't have to go to that stupid job washing dishes anymore. I'm getting some royalties from the songs I'm writing. Very thematic. And then, of course, the craving. More candy you eat, the more you're going to want to crave it. And that's what this is here. These little pink things are the candy rolls. There's your record deal and your demo tapes. And I'll get to this crew members that you can hire. If you don't go to work, sometimes you can't be in 2 places at one time, right? And you really got to go do a record deal, or maybe you really have to go do this gig. So you skip out on work, skip out on your legal assistant job or your massage therapist job. You're going to get one of these didn't show up for work today. You get 3 of those and you're out, you're on your butt, you're fired, you're sticking to the music. So these boards are so awesome. I'm going to put all this together and I'm going to do a review video so you can see what it looks like, because it is so much fun to play with these boards, and the quality is way up there. Great production from DEVIR. I'm going to pop this out so you can see what it looks like. Look at that. I mean, that's an amp right there. Yeah, it's so cool. As you can see, I'm a big fan of this game, so it's going to be easy to demo this at the friendly local game stores. So we do have some, on-off buttons for our little amp right there. That'll go in that little slot right there. As long as you are, as long as you're doing well on craving. But if you ever get hit and you got to go to recovery, it'll flip on, and that means you can't use any more candy that run. All right, so I shouldn't say that because I've only busted once on that, and I don't really remember the penalties. My memory is that you could finish up the actions you did, but I don't remember. So I shouldn't say that. There is a penalty for, not meeting your craving goals. So let's not do that. Of course, sometimes you just gotta roll that dice. I know I took some chances the other night. All right, I told you that the band members have those little standees, but they're also going to have these player boards that go fit right in there covering your amp. And it's going to have a place for your job until you get fired or you quit. And then now you're just a professional musician. And it'll have a place for your manager. Each one of these persons also has a place to store your stuff. Like this one, Doc, has these little tokens. The tokens are to, during any prep phase before anyone is taking a turn, you can give one to another player. Both you and that player are going to gain something like chops or reputation or music. So, way to, you're so good, you got a synergy with other players. So you're going to both bump at the same time with your songwriting. You go to their pad and you work on songs together. Thematic. There's tons. I love the diversity in here. There's plenty of different. You're going to have your choice of what you want to play, what kind of music you want to play, what kind of instrument you want to play, what you want your character to look like. We do them random where we just get 2 at the start of the game, but it wouldn't bother me if you just pick the one you hadn't done before. Try them all. There's a whole ton of these. All right, let's take a look. How many do we have all total? All right, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different ones. With some flavor text on the back, by the way. Baby Rose. Why do so many of these names sound Cajun? Does Jackie have some kind of connection to Louisiana that I don't know about? I'm gonna have to find out. Because Baby Rose and what's the other one I saw? Yolanda Delacroix, Shad Darling, which is, Shad means darling in Cajun. So that's wild. Find out about that. All right, I didn't get to show you this. So one of the cool things that when I was doing this with playing this with Doug and Carlos, who's a graphic designer, he designed the logo. He loves things like Hit Z Road, where it's got all these graphical elements, and of course the turn markers for the game. They had to be guitar picks. Look at that. That's just so cool. And they feel like they're playable. They're thin, but they're playable guitar picks. All right. Last but not least, we got this board, and just like everything else, the board is very thematic looking. I've never seen the backside. I don't know what it is. Huh. This is surprising. I'm gonna have to ask Doug. What is the backside? Are there 2 sides? I'll take a look at the rules on it. I've only played one side. I wonder if there's. I don't know. I'm gonna find out. Okay, so looking at the board, and everything is self-explanatory. This is going to be the points that you score during the game. To track those, because there are going to be little points here and there as you play. Like some of these hangout cards are going to give you points. You'll take your player marker, and on your turn and turn order, you're either gonna we'll start here in the daytime, then we'll move to nighttime, and then we'll move to the hangout phase. But in the daytime phase, you're going to pick one of these spots or one of these free actions. All these are free. They have the infinity symbol, so you can use them as many times as you want. And you'll take that action. So maybe you'll come to the studio and rehearse. It'll cost you a little bit of money, but you'll improve your chops. Maybe you'll do an interview at a radio station, get some publicity, you know. Maybe you'll hire some crew or do some promotion, hire a publicist, work on a record deal. Record deal is important because you're going to bump up your royalties on the track. Maybe you're going to have to go to recovery so that you can lower that sugar craving so that next round you can take to, to get that craving lower so you can try to take multiple actions. Then we'll come to the nighttime phase. And of course, nighttime phase, you're either in the rehearsal studio or you're at one of the local joints or at some random gig or playing bigger and bigger gigs. Panda Palace and Yinsa Arena give lots of points, lots of cred. The Carter Stadium is the maximum. I've never in all my games yet done Carter Stadium, but I'm going to do it one time. And then last but not least, the third phase of the worker placement turns during the month is the hangout. Again, you still have access to these, and that becomes important because each one of these 5 are going to be assigned a number, plus these have numbers, and those little guitar pick numbers, that's the turn order for the next round. So if you just go to bed early, you don't get much out of it, but you do get to go first the next round. But if you record a demo for $3, you can get a demo which is going to help you with this over here, with the promos, and it'll move you slightly up in the turn order. Or maybe you'll buy or sell candy or donate blood or write a song or just go to work. And if you're on those spots at the end of the round, then we'll reassess the turn order based on that. Well, now I see. The turn order has 3 here, and I'm assuming it has 5 here. Yep, 5 here. So Doug, when we played the other night, we were on the wrong side of the board. We were playing on the 5 side when we should have been playing on the 3 side. I'm going to double check to see if there's any other mention. Maybe that's the only thing that affects it. All right, so that's everything but the back of the box. We've got the back of the box, which shows all the, kind of the components and the wild action there and tells you a little bit about the game. But mainly, that's Rock Hard. That's Rock Hard 1977 from DEVIR Games, published by Jackie Fox. Designed by Jackie Fox and published by DEVIR Games. It's a fantastic Euro. It's going to make one of my games of the year. Spoiler alert. And it's one of the most thematic Euros I've played in a long time. When people say that Euros are beige and boring, they're wrong. They can be thematic. They can be fun. Is it a little simple? Let's wait for the review to let you know. There's some issues with the game that don't make it a 10. It's not going to be for everybody. But if you like fun experiences where you're not talking about pink or green or blue and trading yellows for blue, nothing wrong with that. Because if you follow this channel, you know I love my beige Euros. I do. It's not the point. The point is that sometimes I do want to play a game where it really matters. When I'm taking an action, I really feel like I'm actually doing that action. Or if I miss a dice roll, it's not just a number. It's, oh man, I got to go to recovery. Or, I needed $3 and I only got 2 this round. So if you like any of that stuff, if it makes an opinion, you should go to your friendly local game stores the weekend, first couple of weeks in May, because all through the country, the DEVIR is sponsoring splashes from the ENVOY Heralds at the friendly local game stores where you can get a free demo and play Rock Hard 1977 yourself. So I do want to thank DEVIR Games for sending us this copy. And of course, I'm an ENVOY Herald. So hopefully we'll see you at the friendly local game stores sometime in May to play the game. But until next time, c'est les bons temps roulés.